Yes, people, welcome back to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV for another transfer news show for you. We are joined by Ben Jacobs, who is actually just coming now. I'm going to be bringing it in a second. Lots going on with Chelsea manager news, guys. We were told De Zerbi, McKenna, Frank, but Enzo Maresca seems like the one that's actually being called up the most. So we're going to be talking about that in a second. Keep smashing a like, subscribe if you're new. We've got to be quick because, as you can appreciate, he's busy as well. So we've got to get on with it, guys. So let's cue the intro. Yes, people, welcome back to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV. And as you can see, the busy man himself, Ben Jacobs, is in the building. Ben, how are we doing? Long time, first.
Yeah, good to see you. Looking forward to a busy summer.
I can see already. I mean, busy summers in Chelsea always seems to be the same. Seems to be a good mix, doesn't it? It's always Chelsea in every summer that seems to be in the forefront, especially when it comes to managers of recent. It feels like so. Yeah, lots to get into. But how you been though? You all right? Is everything going well your side?
Everything is good. Yeah, transfer window, Euros, Olympics for me this summer. So sleep will be at a premium.
Right. I wanted to. I was going to speak to you about other managers, but it seems like in recent hours or so that there's been a lot of breaking news in and around Enzo Maresca. So I'll ask you that. I mean, what's going on? What's the update with Chelsea at the moment?
Well, as of now, and I say as of now because people might watch this on repeat, Enzo Maresca and Chelsea are advancing, and as John Percy first broke, Leicester have received a formal request which allows Chelsea to proceed with Maresca and advance their talks as well, club to club, because we have this figure which has gone up since Leicester got promoted of close to £10 million. I'm told it's not quite that number. It's between 9 and 10 million. And if Chelsea choose Maresca, advance with Maresca, then they could just pay that amount. But it's double, roughly speaking, the number that was there for McKenna and also Roberto De Zerbi. So Chelsea could choose potentially to negotiate as well and try and get a compensation package that is a little bit lower. But I would imagine that Leicester will be quite firm because they're newly promoted. They don't want to lose Maresca. So that's where we're at with him. And then with Roberto De Zerbi and Thomas Frank, it's thought that Maresca at the moment is ahead of those two. But until you've actually agreed something, you need to keep more than one candidate in the process. But I do think it's fair now at this stage to call Maresca the favourite.
What was the situation with also Frank and McKenna? I mean, in early times, we've heard that McKenna is now not a possibility to be taken on as Chelsea manager, but Frank seems to be one that seems to be still in and around the mix as well, though.
Well, I think Maresca is the one that they're advancing with in a club-to-club sense. I'm not aware of any formal approach to Brentford at this stage, but Thomas Frank's there because he's seen as a fit within the system that Chelsea want to play. It's interesting. Maresca likes 4-3-3, not as much anyway. 4-2-3-1, there's not a great deal of difference, but 4-3-3 Maresca, 4-3-3 preferred formation of Frank. De Zerbi likes playing a 4-3-3 as well. So you can read into that part of the identity maybe that Chelsea are looking for. Maresca also quite likes the idea of starting with a 4-3-3 and then at times in games falling into a 4-1-4-1. So there is a little bit of a tactical difference and a philosophical difference on the football side between the Pochettino style and maybe some of the preferred, albeit fluid formations of the candidates that have been discussed. But I think the Frank links also come from the fact he's very data-driven. Yeah. He can work within a model. He builds patiently from the back. He plays well on the counter-attack. He plays very progressively. And he's worked with Bernardo Cueva. And Chelsea need that connection between the model they're trying to build, the departments they're trying to build, and the collaboration. So it's normal, I think, that you would talk to Thomas Frank, who shouldn't be judged only on Brentford, but the kind of potential he may have if he works at a bigger club with more resources. With Kieran McKenna, I have mixed messages from different sources on this one. So as I've just reported about 10 minutes ago, Chelsea personally called McKenna and told him that he was in there thinking that he was relatively close to advancing to the final few. He was thanked. Chelsea definitely felt it was important to be courteous and to have a direct conversation with McKenna before maybe the news that they were advancing with Maresca broke. So he knew that the club definitely appreciated him. And when you do that, you always give yourself an opportunity further down the line to revisit the situation. But from the McKenna side, sources have also told me that he wants to wait and see if there's a vacancy at Manchester United. And from the Brighton side, they're still very confident that they might be able to get his signature. And Ipswich is still working on a new deal as well. So you can read into the McKenna not being part of the Chelsea process in two ways. From the Chelsea perspective, they ruled him out. They're advancing, and they were very courteous and classy in calling McKenna. But sometimes you also rule out a candidate if we read between the lines, because you know that candidate's got other options.
Yeah, and we'll stay on Maresca, because obviously, like I said, it seems like he's the one that's leading it at the moment. There's a lot of like mixed feelings from the Chelsea fan base in and around an appointment of Maresca compared to someone of a De Zerbi, who they, we know has that sort of Premier League proven experience. But from the board standpoint, Ben, have you heard like anything in and around, because we're always told sort of mixed stories in and around obviously the decisions being made are mainly from the owners, but that the sporting directors have had quite a heavily involvement in Maresca. Joe Shields, who he knows had a relationship with him as well in past, as also maybe influenced this slightly. I mean, how, from a board standpoint, how do you think they've got to this sort of agreement? Is it because we were told it was split? Do you know what I mean? So we're just trying to understand how it's seen at the top at the moment.
Yeah, I think when you get told it's split, that's normal, because there's a healthy debate that takes place. It would be more shocking in many ways if everyone just agreed instantly on a candidate. You want a healthy debate. If you don't have a healthy debate, you want people in your leadership team that play devil's advocate. Otherwise, you don't have a full and open and transparent process. So it's not so much a split as in there's divisions, or as in there's friction or contention. It's just every single candidate will have at least one standout quality that another doesn't. And when you're looking for a football fit, a personality fit, and a strategic fit, it's normal that not every single candidate, if you're scoring them in each area, is necessarily going to beat all of the other candidates. Because as you say, Maresca hasn't been yet a Premier League manager, and Thomas Frank is the most experienced in the Premier League, and McKenna might be the young part of the profile they're looking for, but has a risk-reward element to him. And with De Zerbi, you have somebody that, just looking at the manner in which he left Brighton, there's a plus, the heart on the sleeve, and there's a minus, the heart on the sleeve. There's a plus, the risk-reward, beautiful football. There's a minus, it's risk-reward. And if the risk aspect is the thing that comes to the fore at a club like Chelsea, then maybe you get criticised for being that gung-ho. And we saw that with Ange Postecoglou. First half of the season, everyone loved the high line. They loved the gung-ho. They loved the width. They loved the exposed. They loved the fact that they pushed Chelsea, even though they were down to 9 men. And then by the end of the season, people start to say, wait a minute, is this not all a bit reckless? And are we not now paying the price? So I think every candidate has their pluses and minuses. But what I would say is that this notion that every single Brighton person at Chelsea Football Club would have wanted De Zerbi was never my understanding. And I think just because people have worked together, it doesn't mean that that candidate automatically becomes likely simply because there's history within Chelsea Football Club relating to Brighton. There's some people that naturally would have put forward a very positive argument for De Zerbi. There's others that would have wanted to go in a different direction because they've got a bit more insight, because they've worked with him before. So I think the leadership were trying to challenge each other over this process to get to the point of at least two candidates, and then you have to decide which one you want. And that's kind of where we're at the moment, and they're advancing with Maresca. And the reason for Maresca, to come back to your question, is that he's worked under Pep, and he plays, therefore, the kind of style and has the kind of football philosophy that Chelsea are looking for. He's very data-driven. He didn't have that many injuries at Leicester. He prides himself on sports science, and that extends beyond just things like data. He's prepared to embrace new methods. One of the reasons why he joined Leicester was because dropping and moving away from Pep to be a manager was almost safety netted at Leicester by the resources, the facilities, the data. Leicester have got a much better training facility than most of the Premier League. And that includes sports science, it includes psychologists, it includes new methods, it includes data. So he's very much a man that likes to use all of these tools. And then in addition to that, unlike Pep, he can be quite confrontational, he can challenge. So people may say De Zerbi may not get it because he can create a bit more friction. But Enzo Maresca will fight for what he wants in a football club, just in a slightly different way. We definitely can't say he's in any way, shape or form a yes man. I've seen that and heard that many, many times. So this isn't about only having someone that fits in the system and won't challenge it. There'll be a healthy freedom to challenge. And I think, as I've said many times, freedom of challenge doesn't exist. Then there's absolutely no point in having a model. And Chelsea know that. They want the freedom to challenge. They just want someone that understands the model and embraces the model and can fit within the model. And then I think the other reason why he may be under consideration is just the way that he plays. So you have this 4-3-3 that can morph into a 4-2-3-1 or also that 4-1-4-1. He likes the double pivot. He likes inverted fullbacks. He likes his defenders to be ball playing and come forwards 5, 6, 7 yards. And when they do that, it actually means, and I think this is something that Chelsea fans, if he joins, are going to have to understand, the centre-backs almost become your number 6s and your midfield destroyers. And instead of it only being about, let's just call it Moises Caicedo winning the ball, the centre-backs, if they're capable of coming into midfield when they're not being as pressured and when they're not worried about being as exposed, they can at times actually be the destroyers that pickpocket further up the field in a higher line and take the ball off strikers. And if they do that, then it gives the opportunity for somebody like Caicedo or Enzo Fernandez or Gallagher to take a slightly more advanced position. And we've seen this a lot at Leicester. And then when they win the ball, they play a quick progressive pass to the central midfielder. And because your Caicedo isn't the one that won that first challenge, they're a few yards, and it is only a few yards, but they're further forwards, and they get a simple pass, but a progressive pass from a centre-back, and then they launch into wide areas. And it means that they can be more attack-minded. The knock-on effect of that is your number 8 can be much more of an offensive threat. And you look at midfielders at Leicester like Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, who have suddenly started scoring goals for fun in the Championship under Maresca. They weren't doing that in the Premier League, and they didn't have the freedom to do that in the Premier League. It was Harvey Barnes that was Leicester's offensive player, and he was wider. It's been Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall from midfield for Leicester from a central position. And again, that's because he's forcing these ball-playing defenders to be a bit further forwards. And the last thing tactically, which is tough because the way that Chelsea played, you look at the games against Man City in the league and Manchester United as well. But Enzo Maresca prides himself on trying to find a marginal gain regarding not allowing counterattacks. And the Premier League is all about counterattacks. So, of course, they'll happen at times. But one stat he looks at in great detail is not to allow these counterattack big chances, these counterattack goals. So it's about tightening up whilst at the same time expanding. And that's where the risk reward comes in. And I think that at Chelsea, it'll be very interesting because if you can stop the exposure on the counter attack, get ball playing defenders, get offensive qualities out of Moises Caicedo and move the ball quickly, then if that all comes together, Chelsea are going to take some stopping, and they've certainly got the attributes to be able to do that.
And that's the real interesting thing. And I think a lot of Chelsea fans at the moment are looking at Leicester fans, and there's a small proportion of Leicester fans that ain't too happy with Maresca actually, and actually want him gone anyway, and moan about his naivety and his formations and stuff. But I feel like it's one of them things. I feel like it's not a very naive thing. I think it's more like when you look at De Zerbi, like for me, he still sticks to his guns when he plays in certain formations and systems. You know, it's just the way that these young managers want to play, you know, and I think we just need to be careful with like how we view managers that are coming in. I don't know loads about him, you know, don't get me wrong. I know that he's had relationships with Palmer, Lavia, Joe Shields, all these people. And I think equally that's going to be the key, but it does look like he's going to be the front runner as well. I know you've got a dip in a second as well, but my last question to you really is, if Enzo Maresca is appointed at Chelsea, do you see him fitting in well with the profile players that Chelsea currently have without even getting into this summer and this summer window and maybe potentially purchasing some more?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, any manager is going to fit in well with this squad. It's a fantastic squad. It's not really the squad that's the problem. It's getting the best out of the squad, maturing them. He's a good man manager. He's a bit calmer than Pep, so confrontational can be something that is done with calmness. And we certainly don't see as much of the Pep throwing himself to the ground type thing. A bit more at Leicester, but at Man City, it was always sort of said that Pep would go nuts on the touchline, Pep would wear the heart on the sleeve, and everyone else around him would calm down a little bit. And it's quite funny because Arteta and Enzo at City were calmer. Maybe that's just the nature of not being the number one. And then they leave, and Arteta's much more like Pep now, celebrating, being really passionate. But when he's actually behind closed doors, he's quite dispassionate. And so are the Chelsea owners. And dispassionate doesn't mean lacking in passion. It means not allowing passion to cloud your judgment. So you've got a full amount of passion, but you need to know how to channel that. And Maresca is very good at that. So I would expect him to give quite clear instruction to his players. He'll be able to communicate with the dressing room in multiple languages. That will be very helpful as well. I think the 4-3-3 is quite an interesting formation for Chelsea, just because if they are to bring in another striker, then want to utilise Nicholas Jackson, it might be easier for Jackson to be a wide forward than a wide player in the 4-2-3-1 formation. Again, there's not much difference, but at least in a 4-3-3, it's kind of a full front three. And if you look at how Newcastle play, that's definitely benefited players that want to play centrally, but haven't always been able to. Like Anthony Gordon is a wide player, but if he was given the choice, he said on record he wants to play centrally. Isak, when Wilson was starting centrally, had to go wider. But you can do that a bit easier in a 4-3-3 than you can do in a 4-2-3-1. So it may be that that's the solution to balancing things. And it may also be, certainly with a few of these managers, if they choose to play a back three, that it's a defined two up top. So it's a 3-5-2 type formation. And again, that allows Jackson +1. It still allows your Nkunkus or your Palmers to play behind, or of course Nkunku to partner Jackson up front, or even arguably Cole Palmer just behind him. So it may be that they're thinking along these lines, and it may be that the manager that can play that type of formation as their number one is going to be quite conducive, because Chelsea know what they're doing recruitment-wise is going to benefit that type of formation as well. So I personally don't think there's a manager in the world that can't come in and get the best out of this Chelsea squad, because they're all young. They've all got high ceilings for improvement. You got half of the overall squad that have been injured for a large part of the season. And there's no manager on the planet, whether they're inexperienced, experienced, Premier League, foreign, that wouldn't want half this squad. Who wouldn't want Reece James, Wesley Fofana, Levi Colwell, Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, Romeo Lavia, Christopher Nkunku, Mikhailo Mudryk with his potential, plus some of the experienced players or light players in the dressing room, like your Chalobahs, your Chilwells. One or two may divide opinion on the field, but it's also about the chemistry of the squad and how they gel off the field. And that's why some of these other names are very important as well. And then if you say they're going to get a traditional striker, they're still going to add another centre-back, they're going to get a young left-back, and if Conor Gallagher leaves, they're going to bring in another midfielder. I think every single manager, when they hear that and they look at the squad, as long as they're fit, are going to be licking their lips.
100%. Listen, guys, we can't keep Ben too long, because as you can imagine, he's got lots to get on with as well. But we will in the future bring him back on, and hopefully you have a bit more time to actually analyze, go through stuff. Obviously, we've got the summer transfer window as well, guys. There's going to be a lot going on in and around Chelsea, players coming into the club, etc. as well. I do try and get as much as I possibly can when he's available, but I also appreciate that he's a very busy man at the same time. But Ben, I'll let you go because I know you've got to go. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to say before you leave?
Just that things are moving very smoothly as well as fast. So I don't anticipate any issues regarding an exit from Maresca from Leicester. That I doubt will be a stumbling block, especially because Leicester will know when a manager wants to leave, and there's a clause in place that they'll have to get a move on as well, because they have to find somebody to come in and replace. And again, was there to be now another twist and it not to end up being Maresca, even though that is the name that is being advanced upon, then De Zerbi's a free agent, and there's a number there in place, that 5 million or so number, and Frank's believed to have a release clause as well. So I think this process is going to move very quickly, and Chelsea had always indicated that that was the case, that it was a days rather than weeks type process. So today, tomorrow. I reported last night that I thought 24, 48 hours we'd have clarity, and that is still my understanding.
Thank you. Appreciate your time as always, Ben. And we'll see you. We'll see you again on the show, hopefully very soon as well.
Look forward to it. Keep up the good work and speak soon.
See you later, mate. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye. Guys, there you go. Ben Jacobs. Unfortunately, we couldn't get him on for 20 minutes today because he's got a lot going on in the backs at the moment. So I appreciate that he's actually came on and given us that time as well. But yes, it does feel like Enzo Maresca is the guy that's going to be taking over this football club. Obviously, things can still change. There is De Zerbi, as you heard, still available with a 5 million compensation option, which could happen for whatever reason. We don't know. Things can change. We know that. But at this moment in time, it seems to be that the news we're hearing today is that Enzo Maresca is advancing in Chelsea are advancing talks with Enzo Maresca as the new head coach. Positive talks over the weekend. He's 100% keen and excited to join the project. No issues on Maresca's contract already being discussed. Talks to follow with Leicester over a compensation. The question is, will Chelsea pay the full 10 million compensation fee to bring him across? We've still got to pay for. We've still got to equally pay off. What's his name as well? Pochettino, which is another thing as well. But guys, we've got over 800 people in the building right now. Big up to every single one of you that are in here, guys. Can you please make sure you smash the fun buttons, guys? We'll be doing a lot more of these shows as well if you can. Yeah, smash the likes, share it out. We're going to stay on for a bit more. We've got hopefully I might have the panel coming at some point if we've got a panel. I need to check that. Are they coming? But yeah, you know, it's going to be. I want to know what your thoughts and opinions are, guys. Are you happy? How are you feeling about the choice of the potentials of it being Enzo Maresca? Is it something that you're happy with, or are you a little bit upset with the fact that it could be him and want, I don't know, De Zerbi or Amorim or who? Because obviously there's been talks around a number of these names, and obviously we had the news about Amorim yesterday, confirmed that from Fabrizio that Amorim is not one to be picked by Chelsea because they want a manager that's playing in English football currently, which still doesn't make 100% sense to me. I'm not going to lie, like it doesn't fall into that. But you know, let me just quickly ping this to Josh as well because Josh likes coming in. Josh, I just sent you the link. Just sent you the link, bro. So you know, it's going to be fears for our future with Clearlake in charge. Can't believe we ain't even making a run at Xavi. Xavi's one that's interesting. Big up Matty as well, who is a big Amorim fan. I'd rather Amorim than Enzo, but I'd rather Enzo than Frank and De Zerbi. So this is the thing. I'm really intrigued to know who are De Zerbi fans, who are Enzo Maresca fans, man. Let me know. Let me know in the chat. Still got 750 people in the building. Big up, Jim. I have no issue whoever manages. I'll judge them on results, but we better not sign half of the Leicester staff now. True. But at the same time, it is very important that whoever we are bringing in, we have to get it right, guys. We're going into a third season under this ownership. You know, they can't keep chopping and changing. They do kind of need to give a bit of time to whoever they are going to bring in. But at the same time is earned by what we see on, through the season and winning. You know, you can't just do what Pochettino did last season, in my opinion, which was very in the mud, not moving, stuck, stale. And yes, it was a bit too little too late at the end, and he started to find a bit of form. But whoever comes through the door has to know that they're not only going to be under pressure, but they need to show some consistency in what it is that they're trying to do. And with like Ben Jacobs said, there's a lot of talent here. There's a lot of technicians here. We're going to go into the summer purchasing potentially a striker, centre back, left back. We're going to have a lot of these things going on. But it's very hard to judge him because he's just a championship manager. Oh, he's a championship manager. He's shit. Like, that's our mindsets at the moment. And I get it to a degree because we look at, we want the CVs. We want the ones that have won trophies, done things, have a proof of it. And it feels like these owners are still reluctant to go down that route at the moment currently. They want a young manager. They want someone with a specific style and set. They want someone to come in and utilize what players we have and get the best out of them in their systems for the future, And the pressure will be Champions League football and trophies. I think that was the same last season. I don't think the targets have changed. I just think this ownership are very clear. This is what we're giving you. This is who you get. You can have involvement. You can have a certain involvement, and in the transfer window, and on certain specific individuals. Yeah, I agree. They probably do get that, but they're not getting the says in it, and that's the thing. You know, this ownership and board are very stuck to what they feel is the right thing to do, bringing in these young, these young players as well. Just quickly before we go to Josh, I want to quickly go through some of these super chats. Sasuke says, F Bowley and Egbali, done with these effing clowns, get them out. He is fuming. Big up to you and thank you for the donation as always, Sasuke. Appreciate it. Nyak's in the building. Come on, my bro. Good to see you. Just 2 words. Joe Shields. Seems like his power is growing in the club, which makes me feel somewhat happy, but not this guy. I'll wait and see. But damn, and this is it, Nyack, for me, because I don't know loads about Enzo Maresca. There's a lot of Leicester fans saying that he did bottle first. He had a 17-point lead at number 1 and bottled it and made it to second. That's their comments as Leicester fans about Enzo Maresca. But
They
if
won
Joe
the league,
Shields,
Jim. They won the league, Jim.
Oh, they won the league, Leicester.
Yeah, Ipswich made it close. They won the league by a point, but they won the league.
Oh, right. I thought they bottled it. I thought they finished second. See, this is what I'm saying, John. There you go. So this is what I'm saying.
And to be honest with them, they pretty much dominated the entire championship.
Yeah, but they're moaning about bottling a 17-point lead. You know, so that's what they were.
Yeah, they're still lifting a title, right? So I mean,
there you go. They still won the title. Fair enough. But moving from that, if Joe Shields is and has any involvement in what's going on here and he's starting to get more of a say, then I'm willing to give it an opportunity. Because if there's one good thing that's come upon this board that we currently have at the moment, it's Joe Shields. Yeah. And I'm willing to give it a chance. I'm willing to see what they see on etc. He knows Lavia and Palmer have all had relationships with Maresca. You know, we have to be sometimes a little bit open-minded. We might not be all happy about the situation, and I fully understand it. But at the same time, we've got to get behind the manager and we've got to see how things start. And then we judge on what we see. And that's the big thing as Chelsea fans. Judge on what we see. Judge on what we see when they come to us. And then we make our decisions on whether it was the right, whether it's the wrong, whether he's done okay and he's a bit more. This is how we should be looking at things, in my opinion. But Josh, how you doing, brother? Enzo Maresca today. It seems like it's getting a lot of heat.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be the name out in front right now. Listen, I'd be completely lying if I said I know a lot about this guy. He comes from a good lineage. You could put it that way. I mean, the guy comes from a good coaching stable. He went down his first head managing job in the championship with Leicester, won the championship, brought him right back up. I mean, that's something that's nothing to turn your nose at. That's an impressive feat to go down and regardless of whether Leicester, finagled their roster a bit to be able to keep it with the way, and they're going to pay for that when they come up to the Premier League, obviously. But it's still an impressive feat. I mean, his first head role, he wins the championship with Leicester. I mean, it'd be hard to poo-poo the guy. I mean, it sounds like he's got some credibility in the dressing room if he was able to rally that roster right back up. So, yeah, I mean, if it's him, we got to back him. It is what it is. We'll see what he's got. He's been experienced. He's been around big teams, been around big managers, been around big players. Hopefully all that stuff is good experience for what we're trying to do. So,
Couch Critics in the building. He's another one that's, let's say, are you keen on Enzo Maresca? It seems like it's heating up Couch at the moment in and around him. Chelsea are starting to finalise certain things, etc. Seems like we're moving in that way. I mean, what's your thoughts on the Enzo Maresca to Chelsea links?
Oh, big up, chat. Big up, Josh. Been a minute. Big up, Jem. Everything's good. I've been saying from time, of the candidates that were thrown in front of us, I thought that this guy has the most tactical nous to play in the Premier League. So I'm not necessarily keen. I would rather have a more experienced manager who understands how to win at the highest level, because that's kind of what we're aspiring to do. But seems like this ownership is more inclined to just have a manager that is taking these baby steps to get us to the top. And I don't know, it could be a number of things. Maybe you get that, that more experienced manager who understands how to win. And, because they have more, experience in winning, they become like the figureheads of the club. And that's probably what they don't want to see happen. I want to see it, because I think that within the structure of this club right now, we don't have any winners. We don't have any winners, like whether it be the directors, the board, medical staff. There's nobody that's won anything. And if you want to win, you have to have winners in your setup. And you think about like when Roman came, he went and got Peter Kenyon, who was at Manchester United. He basically helped him build the structure, a winning structure. And then he fucked off and, whatever happened. But I'm at the point right now where I'm willing to accept that we're not going to be, Chelsea of old. This is a new Chelsea. We're looking for younger, fresher ideas. And I sent you guys a couple of links to things that I've been watching the last little while about like this new methodology behind structures and like how data-based information has become all the rage right now. And it's basically become the feeding ground for a lot of like younger, more frugal teams. They use the data to basically source the next buys. It's what Brighton has done forever. It's what Brentford have been doing forever. And I think that's quite a part of the reason why we're looking at managers who also use that data as well, because you're looking for somebody that understands what it is that we're trying to do with it and knows how to utilize it well. So, yeah, for me, I like Maresca just because of the targets. I mean, not because I thought that he was going to be the best manager for us, but of the targets, I think that his setup is just the most sound. Like, I love the fact that he's more concerned about what happens when we're out of possession than when we're in possession. Seems like a lot of Chelsea supporters are just about like, well, how do we attack? How do we attack? We need to push bodies forward. And I'm like, well, yeah, that works, some of the time, but most of the time, like when you're playing a football match, there's two different phases of the game. There's defense, well, three actually. There's defense, transition, and offense. And those two other phases are ones that you have to be concerned with as well. And it just seems like nobody's concerned with that at all. It's very much, how do we attack? We have all these attacking players. How do we attack? And I'm like, well, I look at Maresca and he sets up his teams to work in all three phases. Like, even though he's very much attack minded, he'll play like a 4-1-4-1 and he'll invert the fullbacks or whatnot. The reason why he inverts the fullbacks is because he wants to be sure that if we do get counterattacked, that we're solid back there. So I appreciate that aspect of his game myself.
And Counts, I mean, he talking about winning, Counts, like he does come from that though, right? So he's won lots of stuff with City. He's now won on his own in the Championship. I mean, he has been in and around nothing but winning for most of his coaching career, at least. So, I mean, those are all good things. He does bring that experience.
I don't know how much
that experience.
Was he on like Pep's actual staff though? Like, was he one of the number two or whatever? He was, right?
Yeah,
so I thought he was just teaching. I thought he was just coaching the youth
from
team.
some of the stuff I read, he was like a pretty important tactical piece to Pep's setup. Like, as a manager, like his footballing ideas were something that Pep leaned on quite a bit. So, I mean, I totally get it, but this to me does give us a little bit. We do now have a manager who's been in and around winning most of his coaching career. So that I think that does bode for a little bit of what you were talking about, having somebody who's won stuff around. Like, he's been there. He's been on those late Premier League title runs. He's been in close title runs. He's been in Europe and won. Those are all things I think that are good experiences to have around as well.
Oh, no doubt about it. And that was part of the reason why I also thought that he would be a good fit here, just because he's been in Pep's, just under the tutelage of Pep. And that can't be understated in any way. Like, if he's soaked up even 10% of what he is as a manager, then you have to think that, he's going to be a good one, And I don't know.
Yeah. You guys want to go through a yeah, sorry, go on, mate.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, you guys want to go through Y Scouts, Enzo Maresco's tactical analysis together?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. We could do that. Obviously, look, things can change. We know that. It's feeling that it is him with all of the news in and around, Fabrizio Romano to obviously the Telegraph today. It feels like there's going to be a bit more of a a steer to try and push and get the contract in order. He wants the job. It's just the compensation to Leicester that now needs to be finalised. But this is Enzo Maresca's tactical analysis. Obviously, videos as well. I'm not too sure if I can focus on, but if you ever get a chance, guys, go to Coach's Voice. I'll share this link actually. Let me share this in here for like people to actually, in their own time, go and watch go and read about as well. So here we go. Making moves has been a fundamental to Enzo Maresca's football coaching career. When studying at the legendary Italian's coaching centre, wherever that is in Italy, his thesis was titled Football and Chess. There are a lot of similarities, Maresca said, comparing the two games. The most important is positional play and strategy. For a coach, it's important to have the mentality of a chess player, develop a plan, study counter moves, choose the arrangement of the pieces. So he delves in deep into what he sees, which I like. That's a good thing. His favourite tactical moves on the pitch have no doubt been shaped by the moves he has made from the club to club and country to country. The Italian started his playing career in AC Milan's youth team in the number 6 and 8 roles. There he developed a friendship with certain number 10s, a certain Robert De Zerbi. Maresca made a bold switch to West Brom. This is about his like footballing career and stuff like that, which I don't really care about.
What year was he born, Jim?
It doesn't actually say. Has he even won anything? Yeah, we played for Carlo Ancelotti. He played for Lippi as well at Seville. Won a Serie A title, 2 UEFA Cups, and one Copa del Rey. And finished the season at Olympiacos, it seems like. As an 18-month spell playing under Pellegrini, blah, 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 blah. Why are we reading about his player? I wanted to know about... There we go. By this point,
I want to know about everything, to be honest.
Okay.
I want to know about everything. Like,
as an 18-month spell playing under Pellegrini at Malaga followed, during which the Chilean told Maresca that he had the potential to become a good coach. So this has come from Manuel Pellegrini. After initial coaching spells in Serie B with Ascoli and then at Sevilla, he then joined Pellegrini's coaching staff at West Ham in the summer of 2018. I didn't even know that. So he was a part of the West Ham coaching staff back in 18. By this point, Maresca had developed a reputation as a progressive coach with excellent attention to positional play. It perhaps came as no surprise when in 2020, Pep Guardiola recruited him to take charge of Man City's elite development squad, EDS. Maresca duly won City their maiden Premier League 2 titles with a team including Lavia, Cole Palmer and Tommy Doyle. A first head coach role followed in 2021 at Serie B Parma, but ended after just 14 matches. Guardiola didn't hesitate to bring Maresca back as a first team assistant for the treble winning campaign before Leicester offered him a job as their head coach. So he was next to him in the treble winning campaign. And he comes successful with City. Below our UEFA licensed coaches have also analysed Enzo Maresca's tactics and his coaching principles in out of possession. So here we go. Deeper build-up. Maresca places a high value on a deep build-up with short passes from the backline to beat a high press. The goalkeeper plays a big role in his strategy, often joining the backline below. That helps create an overload when needed. Usually if an opponent applies a player-orientated press. So yeah, he kind of like pushes the two centre-backs here. The goalie kind of drops in there, which is a bit, it becomes like a fifth. And then you've got the left-back and then your two pivots. Well, he's playing a 4-3-3.
No, Pereira is a fullback, so he's inverting.
Oh right, okay, yeah. Pereira's the fullback, so in theory he's filled in he's filled in so that he can play in Pereira's position, basically. Yeah, I get you. So he's playing like an inverted role here, right? So I don't know if I can.
It's like a 3-3-4. It looks like to me right now.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, Maresca has often opted for a back four in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 formation. The goalkeeper joining the play allows the Italian to push one of his fullbacks inside and keep four in the back line. So a little bit of like what we see down the Poch, right?
Sounds familiar.
It does. But you know what the funny thing is, and this is where I'm worried now. The keeper has a big role in this buildup, right? And you know where I stand with these keepers and distribution and be able to play with your feet and whatnot and be able to pick passes under pressure and all that stuff. I don't think we have the keeper.
That might be an area that they maybe look at. There is talks of in the summer that Chelsea might even look at a keeper, so that might be something that they do in the summer. Who knows? But guys, we've got 900 people here at the moment, guys. If you're not hitting the likes, please do so. Smash the likes, get it running up, guys. We are still currently analysing Enzo Maresca and his coaching abilities. The goalkeeper, yeah. So we've read up to that. So the goalkeeper to join in play allows the Italian to push one of his back. An inverting fullback helps form a double pivot above. Position to receive from the defenders. The goalkeeper's involvement and the inverted fullback are ploys familiar from his Man City EDS sides. So this is how he was doing it at the Man City reserves when he obviously won the PL2. So someone like Palmer, Lavia, for example, players that have played with him will have that sort of, they'll probably have that better understanding. But I still feel like the players that we currently got will have that understanding because we've kind of been playing a little bit like that with Pochettino.
And good like that, Jim. Actually, I mean, those last like 5 or 6 games when we played like that, we were playing pretty good football. So I mean, if it does bode well, if that's kind of the idea that he has to do as well, maybe he has like a bit different ideas about how to attack that way. But at least some of the guys that we have will have been familiar with that sort of setup.
Leicester have a free man within their deeper build-up. Should the opposition jump the goalkeeper to press, unless one of the opposing backline moves very high, in which case Leicester's front three are then player for player, which makes sense. So he wants to leave the attackers with only one man on them rather than being isolated, which makes sense. It means that the opposition presses a little bit more high, or it tracks them to press a lot more higher in the way that we're building up. But the first time
not too dissimilar from De Zerbi, by the way, as well. Like a lot of possession-based managers who like to play out from the back are looking to pull defenders in to attract them to the ball and then look for the free man. It's this is not like groundbreaking stuff here. This is just what everyone has been doing the last little while.
Yeah. With first-time passing and clever angles of support from the double pivot, Leicester can find a free player to turn an unopposed progress up. Turn unopposed and progress up the pitch. Yes, I get what they're saying. Something like this will suit Kaisei though, anyway, because he's been doing it for Chelsea anyway, finding space, getting pressed, turning, playing balls through. That all makes sense. Maresca's Parma team also attempted to build up from the back, even though they averaged less possession than Leicester have during his early tenure at the King Power Stadium. The Serie A B side had a fullback move narrow on the side opposite the ball after they had built around the opposing press. The other fullback would simultaneously advance high to join the attack or support underneath the number 8 and the winger. At Leicester, by contrast, the fullbacks look to invert before the ball is played beyond the opponent's first line. Yeah, because they're doing that to provide options. It's for him, when we're so deep, it's about always having an option and not allowing any one player to be high risk, if that makes sense, in any way or receiving the ball. So I get that. He looks for,
that last little bit there is different from what Pochettino did, though, right? Like the idea that they immediately invert to get out of the first phase, whereas with Pochettino, you saw Cucurella come in basically second phase, third phase. He'd invert to protect, but it looks like we're inverting to add to the buildup here.
Yes.
Poch's inversion seemed to be like once we had possession of the ball. Then it was like, all right, Cucurella, you slide in now. We've got the ball. You slide in. Let's just protect this possession and work from there. This sounds maybe a bit more like that guy's getting right to that position to get you in more of a forward attacking sort of position.
Yeah. Right. Number eight threats is where we're going to now. So interesting stuff.
Okay. This is your stuff here. This is your Enzo. What's Enzo going to be doing?
This is where I am. Guys, whether I like you or not. If you don't have good number 8 threats, don't come to my club. No, I'm joking. Number 8.
It's his namesake, for Christ's sake. They got it. These two have to be simpatico. The two Enzos, man.
No,
yeah, Enzo, you can't muck up another Enzo. That's your guy.
Absolutely.
At Leicester, an inverted fullback forming a double pivot allows the number 8s to start higher. Here, they can then attack the inside channels inside the wider attackers, which also gives extra support around the single centre forward. In Leicester's early games under Maresca, attacking the inside channels has proven effective. These are patterns also seen from Parma and Man City's EDS teams. When Parma's fullbacks narrowed in to building an attack, the number 8s would push forward into the front line in what in effect became a 2-3-5 below. And
Yeah.
decided to zoom in.
Also not too dissimilar from what we had been doing, especially with like Gallagher getting deep into the box when we're attacking and stuff like that. We did, excuse me, we did oftentimes have just 2 center backs sort of holding it up and
2,
in
3,
front of the
5.
keeper.
Okay,
Yeah.
at Leicester with a fullback.
I worry about that just because again,
Sure,
I'm always about the structure.
Yeah.
And I'm not really worried about like the shape and whatnot. It's just about what are the principles within it. Like, what are these guys being asked to do in that 2-3-5? Because counterattacking looks like a worry there.
How high risk is it, and how, like, for me, it's more about, like I said, how high risk, or how does he like cover that area so that we don't get caught on the danger side? Like, has he always got a plan to structurally be in a position where we're kind of covered, if that makes sense, so that if we are out of position or we do lose the ball, we don't get hurt in them spaces because we're in a certain formation? Does that make sense? Or a system? So it's how does he cut that out? How does he eliminate it? You know?
Yeah, I mean, this is another thing too I was talking about last week, where it was like, if we're going to be in one of these high up tempo sort of things, I don't necessarily, if we're scoring 4 or 5 goals, I don't necessarily mind if we get caught once or twice in a game, but you got to be scoring those 4 or 5 goals. You can't be like scoring 1 or 2 and still getting counterattacked all the time. It's like, if you're going to be pumping guys like that, you really have to be scoring 3, 4 goals, you know?
100%.
You mean like what we're doing under Poch? I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, that's similar. Yeah, actually, a little bit, Couch, because it was like we're dominating the game, we're dominating possession, we're attacking, we're just not finishing, and then we'd score 1 or maybe we'd get 2, but the other team was able to counter at some point and get their goal or 2 back. So it's like, yeah, obviously you want to be on the front foot, but you really got to score. You really got to get those 4 or 5 goals, man. It really does change everything.
Yeah. At Leicester, with a fullback forward much earlier than at Parma, the attacking shape looks more like a 4-2-4-1. And that's obviously of his recent. So he kind of shows variations based on the specific profiles he has. Because at Parma, he could switch to a 2-3-5, but at Leicester, he kind of stick to a 4-2-3-1. And it just depends, really. Maybe he has some sort of variation to his game, which I don't mind to a degree, because he could do it one way and it could be like, but we could do it a little bit better, and he could maybe do that and it might really work, or it might not work, and he goes, actually, let me go back to that bit because we were a little bit more structurally sound. I don't know, like, it's good to have that, because listen, he's going to make mistakes at the end of the day. I'm ready for that. Like, he's going to maybe get something wrong here or there or whatever, but it's just whether or not he can notice it and deal with it and erase it and actually improve the team. But both systems require aggressive runs in behind from the number 8s. Whenever the opposing fullbacks jumps out to press the wide attackers, number 8's runs are available below. This is especially in case if the centre forward pins the next closest defender. Okay.
Yeah, I wonder about this shape for us now, because like I think that our attackers are what you're considering number 8s could also be number 10s, right? So you can put Nkunku and Palmer in there and have them make those runs, right, to get in behind. Because I just don't see where it'd be effective to have Caicedo and Enzo making those runs into the box to finish. You know, like, so it might be a variation on shape where we play maybe a 4-1-4-1 kind of thing, and you know, we have more attack-minded players in those areas where you can really, you know, pierce the back line and make those intelligent runs in behind. Could be. It's just another possibility, is what I'm saying, if you're looking for goals.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily against the 8s getting into the box at all, really. But when they do, it's like you gotta make the team pay for that mistake of letting them get in that deep. Like, you can't be getting in that deep time and time again and nothing is resulting from it, because then you're gonna get countered for sure. So it's like I'm completely fine with attacking that way, because I think it really did the defensive team is screwed if you're doing that. I mean, really, they're done for if you're blitzing both your 8s into the box. But you have to make them pay when you do it. If you don't, now you're in trouble. Now you're gonna get.
Well, yeah, and I don't think that we lost Jem. Okay, I don't think that any of our 8s have shown a propensity for scoring goals when they're making those runs into the box, which is why I think if we're gonna play that shape, that really aggressive attacking shape, I would rather just see 2 10s in there rather than 2 8s.
Yeah, I feel you, but I feel like our eights weren't making a lot of runs into the box. They were making runs to like the edge of the box, which when you do that, it's like, yeah, now you're asking the guy to bury a shot from the edge of they can do that, but now you got a whole bunch of other issues. I don't think I didn't see as many like deep runs into the six that I'm thinking of when I hear that. I saw way more like runs to the edge of the box and then sit up and hold up at the edge of the box.
Yeah.
Those
So
are
what you're saying is
now
like they weren't given the opportunity to be clinical in the box enough
like
for us to judge. Okay, it's possible.
They were kind of sent to no man's land where it's like, not, you could go to the edge of the box because just in case we can't get you the ball, we don't want to get countered, but right here we can at least get it on your foot here, and then that now you're just talking about a whole bunch of different issues. But I would like to see them have more opportunities yet getting deep into the box, getting into the six, getting into the penalty areas, making the keeper have to make a decision. Like that's what I'm talking about. And I think Enzo could really be Caicedo maybe less. Caicedo may be playing more balls in from those positions. He can pass the ball really, really well. I think Enzo could be a real problem for teams if he's getting into the six.
Yeah, I think so as well. And obviously, his passing range is something. When I look at this picture, I think this works better in a 4-2-3-1 system because you want to have more attackers in these pockets here rather than one of your sixes in that role, maybe there, for example, which I don't want to see when it's a 4-3-3. But how would a 4-3-3 look with Lavia and Caicedo and maybe Enzo? What then position does he take? Does he find himself here? So like these are the things that I'm like intrigued to know what he will do. But in only one of Maresca's first 7 games at Leicester did his team have less than 63% possession. This often locks the opposition into a mid and low blocks for long periods. Inside channel runs from the 8 can penetrate the back line, taking the pressure off the centre forward to make runs beyond. If opposing midfielders track these runs and nullify the 8s, the centre midfielder unit with the inverted fullback can dominate the ball. This works to guarantee high ball possession. Maresca's wingers can then attack inwards once the 8 have cleared out and add into the centre forward. So it's just like a variation of like movements. If the 8 runs and it doesn't create space, then all it does is drag the opposition back a bit. So the 2 6s have got more time on the ball because they're further up the pitch and they've not got one effectively on around. But once the 8 moves back into its role, then the inverted forward, say Nkunku, then attacks that space, runs it. So it's like a variation of like chop and change attacking, if that makes sense. If it doesn't work, come back in again. Like that's what it feels like. It's just a lot of variation in how we're trying to get in behind and try and hurt these slow block teams. Defending the counter attack. Here we go. Interesting. At Leicester, as with Parma, the front line is a 5 in the attacking phase. Maresca's setup in attack in Serie B differed in the shape of players underneath the ball compared with his early days as a manager in the Championship. Due to Leicester's rotations in the attacking phase, they often have 3 players in the back line with a double pivot screening, so like a 3 and a 2 in that pocket. This forms a 3-2 shape underneath the ball. Most of the protection to guard against potential counterattacks set up in central spaces. This back 3 has centre backs ready to step up and deal with wider counterattacks. With the double pivot protecting ahead of the middle centre backs, the wider centre backs must delay counterattacks while their higher attacks teammates recover. So you have a 5, but the centre backs on each side, if it goes wide, go out. But then your 2 pivots drop into that hole, if that makes sense. So you never really. But then you lose. Then I worry a bit because then you lose the numbers in the midfield because you haven't got. It depends who jumps in. I don't know how that works really. It's just I mean.
Well, I think.
Yeah, I mean
that's what
whenever you're getting counterattacked, I think the difference is where either you're putting pressure on the ball to try and win it back quickly, or you're just trying to drop back in shape to cover gaps, right? And in this shape, I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to put pressure on the ball to win it back. And if they don't get it, you have the 5 in behind to just kind of like soak up, to take up the pressure. I remember reading somewhere where he said, where you're saying that the inverted fullback doesn't go back to his natural position until after 3 or 4 moves, after 3 or 4 passes have taken place in the transition. So essentially, he's holding the middle until about 4 or 5 passes occur. And then after that, because after that point, like when you see 4 or 5 passes happen in transition, you're probably in trouble at that point. So it's
Yeah.
at that point that the fullback actually goes back in his natural position, and everyone just
It just
continues with
allows
their original role.
It just allows the
Well,
fullbacks to get back, doesn't it? Really and truly, if you're pushing them out, then it gives the opportunity for the fullbacks to recover and then fill in. And then obviously, if a midfielder has to cover that space because Colwell's decided to go out left because I don't know, Cucurella is well up the pitch, then it just allows us to maybe recover quicker or give us a bit of time to get back and recover.
Right. Well, that's kind of what he was saying. I think what I read earlier when he was saying when the eights attack, those fullbacks invert into their position in the midfield. That way, if the ball gets played back out, you've got guys right there in the midfield now to just recover the ball, and now you can recycle it back. And then in transition, and we actually saw this year too, when Cucurella would go to the midfield, anytime a team would try to counter to his spot in the left back position, Badiashile, whoever's the left center back, just slides all the way over to the left back spot. Cucurella, who's still in the midfield, drops back into that sort of center back role where Badiashile was. And then, like Couch is saying, after 4 or 5 passes, you're hoping that maybe you can reshuffle and get your guys back to where they're going. But the idea there is that when that fullback is inverted, that if a team tries to counter to his position, you want that center back on his side is just going to slide over and take the space and become the new left back.
And you know what's interesting about everyone was like complaining at the beginning of the year about like Colwell playing left back or whatever it was, right? Like in this system, you can see how that is going to be effective now because he's already comfortable playing. Well, maybe not comfortable, but he's already been playing out on that flank for more than a few matches right now. He knows what to expect out there now. So if he's been asked to cover for Cucurella or whatever, Chilwell inverting, he at least knows what it feels like to be exposed and be on his own out there, right?
Right. And
so
we're talking
we're talking to say about that.
Yeah, these are oh shit situations too, Catch, right? It's not this is like if they happen to get that, if they happen to ping that ball right to that spot, and it's like, oh shit, now he has to get out there. But like you're saying, he's been out there now. He knows what an island feels like on the left back side. Like it gives him a bit more comfortable.
And don't forget, those oh shit moments are going to come more frequently when teams know that that's how we're playing. Like if they know that we're going to be like they're looking for the weak spots, right? And that would be considered one, right?
That's down to managers to then work out how to adapt to that. That's what the best ones do.
Which also happened to us at the end of this year too. Teams started to try to ping that ball to the left, basically just hit it to the left flag stick, and we're going to try to get somebody there before Badiashile can get over there. But it is what it is. That's the game.
Yeah. At Parma, the cover at defensive transition featured 2 in the back line and 3 ahead in a 2-3 shape. The second line was usually made up of both fullbacks and the single pivot from the 4-3-3. So this is from a 4-3-3. Maresca's Parma team therefore had more instant aggressive pressing and dueling underneath the ball compared with Leicester's double pivot. The extra player closer to the ball reduced the need for back pressing, especially from the 8. I hear that because there's not as much pressure on the 8 to then have to fill in. This obviously came with some defensive risk if the second line didn't win the ball or delay long enough to allow the forward teammates to recover their defensive shape. In that case, a back line of 2 found it very difficult to cover the wide spaces. Of course they will, because as you can see here, once I get here, they're playing in a 4-3-3, 2 centre-backs sitting, inverted in with a 3, which is, I'm assuming, 1 from the double pivot of the 4, and then your fullbacks, which doesn't look as comfortable. But then I'd like to have seen what was going on further up this pitch. Oh, right, I think there was a tackle there, so maybe that was an 8. They're sitting there, maybe, but it's a different type of shape to then what we've seen in the double pivot. But again, that could happen if we play with Lavia, Caicedo, and Enzo. And this might be where we see a different type of structure and a different type of approach. So it's interesting.
Horses for courses, right?
Horses for courses, exactly. Locking the ball on one side. Interesting. Maresca wants his sides to press and quickly regain the ball, like most, with the aim of dominating possession and limiting opposition attacks. Leicester have typically converted into a 4-4-2 to press, as his Manchester City EDS team did. That requires one of the 8s to jump forward alongside the central striker as a latter attempt to force the ball one way. Well, this is something where it reminds me of Poch playing Enzo further up the pitch, like trying to win the ball with which I don't mind. It's more of like a Gallagher, sorry, not Enzo, more of like a Gallagher role. Now how Gallagher presses further forward and tries to win the ball further forward. So maybe one of the midfielders are going to have to do that. Should they lock the ball on the one side, the jumping number 8 is ready to press any attempt to switch back across. The opposite winger also narrows, allowing the 2 centre midfielders to move over, with the closest winger pushing higher to press. Okay. The opposite fullback should also support, with Leicester locking the ball on one side. So they basically kind of lock one side, and as soon as it goes to the other, the wing back there hits the person. He's not like left on his own over there, which could have effectively hurt us a bit later on if you've got everyone pressing in one area of the pitch. So I think he's got maybe a more of an effective way of trying to win the press, whether it's on the right or the left, depending on where we set up our shape to lock up. Should they lock the ball on the one side? We've already spoke. Should they on one side? The jumping number 8 is ready to press. I just read that, didn't I? Also the ringing now. Yeah.
So it's not essentially sorry. Big up, everyone.
How you doing?
Big
Good to
ups.
see you. When high pressing isn't an option, Leicester have dropped into a block that maintains a 4-4-2 shape. One of the number 8s remain in the front line, with the 2 other central midfielders staggered slightly below. One drops back to cover the space between the lines, supporting the central defenders. Their gap in midfield is then filled by a high number 8 back pressing, or a winger moving inside, leaving a wide area free if the opposition switches play from one touchline to the other. Leicester slide across with the same defensive movements in midfield happening on the far side. So, yeah, but I kind of see what he's saying. So he would move in there, which means they get shifted across here. So they're locking this area, but then there's the vulnerability of the right. So if they manage to get it out on the right, we then get shifted across and we do the same thing again. It's just trying to lock each side, but as a team, rather than scattered people over that side, scatter people over this side. It's kind of like shifting left and right, if that makes sense, to try and close the space. And yeah, Drewsbury, who's playing the 8 role here, would move into that space where Wink will then drop to cover to basically help the defense pretty much for any runs in these pockets. Interesting. I mean, it's a different type of setup. I'm not going to lie.
Is it really though? Is it really though? Like I don't think so. I think a lot of teams defend 4-4-2. A lot of teams do that right now.
They do, but it's for me, it's the way that
in different phases. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the way that they're using the 4-4-2 though. Like it's here, they like locking in one side and then moving across and locking in another side, and then they kind of like variate from trying to lock it in but leave the space on the other side is quite open. But they shift quicker if they shift together quicker. Does that make sense? So they kind of shift quicker to the left and then to the right, depending on where the ball is. But they try and effectively win the ball from the lock, is what they try and do, which is what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, it looks narrow to me, and not too different from what we saw from Pochettino, to be honest. Do you remember Sarri as well? That's true in his 4-3-3. But do you remember when we were all complaining about Cucurella being sucked in too close to the center backs and leaving wide areas exposed? That's what that setup looks like to me, like very narrow defending.
Sarri too.
I mean.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, definitely sorry for sure. The 4-3-3 was very narrow.
We have Sarri ball back, guys. Is it Sarri ball time? Is it with these players?
Well, why not get Sarri? I'm not sure. Hey, the irony here is you're reading an article, and it seems like he's worked out. So if you can work him out, any manager can work him out there.
Yeah, I mean, let's finish this off and then we've nearly done it. Maresca encouraged his side to lock and force play one way, albeit from a 4-3-3 shape. The entire front line jumped onto the opposing back line with the central midfielder holding their shape to screen any central passes. The fullbacks aggressively supporting the wide areas much earlier than East Man City and Leicester teams. As a result, there was a big emphasis on regaining possession in wide areas through high intensity running from wide players. If teams played over the wingers, the 4-3-3 quickly became a 4-1-4-1 block, with the central midfielders focused on protecting the middle. Parma's fullbacks would still jump out to press, with wingers required to recover back and double up in support. The high energy press in wide areas all occurred when Parma dropped into a set block Maresca wasn't given a long time to implement his ideas in his first senior head role. 4 wins and 5 draws from 14 in charge of Parma saw him shown the door at the Stadio El Tadini. At Leicester, he chalked up 4 victories in his first 4 championship games in charge. The aim now is to make his next major move into the Premier League. There you go. Next major move in the Premier League. Welcome to blimmin' Chelsea. But that gives you a slight idea of how it works slightly and what we can expect tactically from him. And it does feel a little bit of element of Sarri ball. It also feels a lot of the same of what we've seen. Lot of energy, lots of pressing, lots of covering the spaces, lots of all of it. So these players should be ready, in my opinion. Let's be serious. The players that we currently have at the moment, they shouldn't be so shocked when he comes in and trains them. Like, it should be very feels a little bit the same. It might be tweaks here and there, but it should feel quite natural in how we've been playing, especially at the latter ends of the season under Poch with the inverted element, So, I don't see it being too much of a problem for the players. And I think when you look at maybe the appointment of someone like Maresca, maybe the owners are looking at how can we simplify this for the players that we've got in terms of what they know now up to this point.
I don't think they can make that. I don't think they're making choices based on how do we simplify it for the players. Make it an easier transition. You got to get the right guy for the job, right? And
no, I agree with that.
If they're not doing that,
but you're not going to do that if you go and get someone with a complete different system, are you? Is what I'm saying. It's
you mean near enough or something like that?
Potentially, yeah.
The biggest issue.
No, but it's not about.
I was going to say the biggest issue here.
First. Go ahead.
Sorry, I got you.
No, you go.
No, I was just going to say.
Okay, go.
Come on, spit it out, Declare. Jesus, usually you can't come on.
All right, so any manager that comes in with a especially a heavy style of play that you just like on the level of Sarri, whatever, and it's all about his way, and he's going to play the same way, and this goes for De Zerbi as well. It's going to take definitely time for everyone individual role. The other problem we have is, does he have every player, the ideal player for each role? So this guy's so not only that takes time, does he have the players as well? There's going to be time for him to learn that tactic. But then, do people have patience? Do we have the players? Straight away, if this guy starts losing, everyone's going to question if it's too big for him, right?
For sure.
I don't think he has time. I think a more experienced manager come in with a group of players that he didn't choose and find a way of playing to perform well. This guy needs time.
You mean like
Conte?
Players?
Yeah, definitely Conte.
Yeah, so even what Jason's saying here, Jason Zola is saying Maresca is going to have too much pressure on him. The fans are split. Some not giving him time, etc. No, it's true, but
that's why no one likes the list.
If you don't, the consensus is that everyone wants De Zerbi, and De Zerbi would be given more time, more chances to succeed than some of these other managers because they just like him. So nobody's even paying attention to how many games that guy lost down the stretch. How many times he got blown out in games. It's just, we like his football, we like him. If he gets to the Chelsea team, it's going to be this, that, and the other, right?
Anyway,
De Zerbi.
Okay, well that's interesting. I thought you were just talking about not Amarim, fucking Amarim, Enzo.
No, Maresca's. I'm saying Maresca's not going to be given any time because people just don't like him. They favor De Zerbi over him.
What was his record in the table last year at Leicester when he won? Let's have a look. 4 draws, 11 losses, 31 wins, 97 points, 3 wins and 5. And he finished off just won by a point, obviously. And he was 17 points ahead.
So, but is there context to how they lost their?
They had a lot of injuries, didn't they? They lost some key players. I know that throughout the season as well, which has probably affected his system and stuff like that. But
is that free?
And how often do you see a team go down and then come right back up in the Premier League? How often do you see that winning? I don't see that very often. So don't sell me this idea that the reason why they came back up so quickly is because they had the best team and because it's very rare in the championship that you see a team go down and then come right back up again and win that league. Rare.
3-0. They lost their last game, 4th of May. 2-0, 3-0, 5-0, 2-1. Lost to Plymouth 1-0. Losing 1-0 was really and truly. I want to see if they're getting
No,
scorers.
you can't lose to
like,
Millwall, man. You can't lose to Millwall, man. Come on,
yeah,
son.
you can't lose to Millwall, man. That's disgusting. Do you know what I mean? Jesus. 2-1, 3-1, 1-0. They don't get battered though, even when they are losing. It's like a 1-0 loss here and there. 4-2 against us, 2-2. Hull. I'm just looking at an idea of like the scores in games. 2-1s, how tight they are. 3-1s, they lost to Leeds. 3-1, their biggest losses. They won 5-0 against Stoke away, beat Swansea 3-1. Couple draws in between 3-0. You can see what I mean. 3-4-1s.
This is with 40-year-old Vardy up top too, right?
Yeah. 4-0 against Plymouth Argyle.
He still got pace though. Don't get it twisted. This guy's still
What
got
I would
pace.
say is they're not getting.
I can't believe it.
Hey, but
They're
don't
not
they have the
getting-
best team on paper, to be honest?
No, it's not a
Like,
good
Arsenal
roster
was one of the
on
favorites
paper at all, but
to get promoted.
I mean, when he's talking about his midfielders like Pereira or whatever, and he's like having to talk about some of his glowing characteristics, you could tell it's hard for him to like.
Sorry, pull up the Fab tweet, please. Pull up the Fabrizio tweet. Here we
Fabrizio
go.
tweet, yeah? Is it?
Did Javi
I'm not saying
did
here.
Javi
I
get his
shouldn't say
interview?
here we go.
You just said, here we go.
Yeah, you can't
I
say
shouldn't
Fab
say
and
that.
then here we go.
Oh, here we go, guys. Here we go. Understand Chelsea and Enzo Maresca are set to agree on contract terms. 2-year deal with an option for a further season or 3rd-year deal. This is final detail being clarified. Maresca already said yes to Chelsea's project. Up to the clubs now to agree on compensation.
That's Poch's same contract, by the way.
Yeah, because again,
I feel like I read something this week where like the next manager was going to be on a long-term contract, and he's on the same contract Poch is. 2 + 1. That's the same deal Poch had.
Yeah, there's no security in the manager position anymore. Absolutely none. And I agree with that, by the way.
That's why I thought the
Is
report.
that why our shortlist? Sorry,
that's why I thought the report was interesting about the next manager having a long-term contract in place. Like, yeah, that doesn't sound right.
No,
yeah, but still, usually like 3. I think that's the reason why our shortlist is like that. If you try to get a decent manager, or
every manager was going to be on this contract that we brought in. They were all going to be on a 2 + 1.
I'm saying the managers, you're not going to get
the choices.
Get that type of manager on a 2.
Well, I mean, who are the other choices you're talking about? We didn't from all reports.
No, Josh,
he's
talking about getting like a Conte or anyone like that. Conte's not taking a 2-year deal.
Yeah, but
that's why our shortlist. What I'm saying, that's what our shortlist. What it was.
Yeah, but
even
listen,
if you wanted someone like Unai Emery or someone actually above, someone playing maybe in the Premier League, yeah, you can offer it too. De Zerbi probably De Zerbi was offered that and didn't take it. So if everyone wanted De Zerbi, it's actually like, yeah, it's great to be at Chelsea. So someone's going to take it who hasn't been on this level and will grab that contract by 2 hands, regardless of what it is. Yeah?
Of course,
they're only going to offer low.
It's your chance.
Yeah,
this is your chance.
And that contract is as good as the paper it's written on. If he wins something, they'll just extend him. I mean, if we win Conference League and finish top 4 next year, they'll give him another 2 years onto that deal. Like,
I agree, but I'm talking about the state with like how many teams need managers at the moment, right? So we're in competition with a whole bunch of managers, and if we wanted some of the best options, right, they weren't going to choose us over, the other clubs that were going to offer a
Bayern Munich is the only big club. Bayern Munich is the only big club looking for a manager, and
actually I counted Man United, but maybe they were
they have a manager who just won a title, so I don't know what they're talking about.
That's
right.
But
I'm talking about Bayern Munich has been turned down by 2 managers in their own league who are smaller.
Never mind 2
managers.
managers. They're turned down by the director's son.
Yeah, and Vincent, and they got Vincent. They hired Vincent Kompany as a manager. So they didn't go get some big name manager either. They got Vincent Kompany.
Barcelona is probably where I was at.
They got Hansi Flick, who's going to be an absolute disaster at Barcelona. So that's going to be hilarious.
Hold on, Josh. You take Hansi Flick or you take
the guy didn't get out of the group stages with Germany. Okay, the guy's
this guy hasn't played in the Premier League. What are you trying to make?
Germany stinks.
What are you talking about, Declared? He's
been
in
Hansi
English
Flick
football for like the last
treble
4 years.
Bayern Munich?
No, I think
You guys
Hansi
are
Flick's
still
gonna
doing
be
it?
I think it's going to be a disaster at
You
Barcelona.
full
A
had
disaster.
amnesia. He won a treble.
Move it over. Yo,
He didn't get
fellas,
out of
move
the
it over
group
to a private
stages
chat,
with
man.
Germany. This is an insane talking point.
This
Declare.
guy-
This is the guy.
This
Declare
guy hasn't. He
lives
hasn't
Declare
experienced
lives in a
anything.
world of managers from 2001. This is the level of manager he has in his
You're
mind that he
playing
wants.
championship manager. That's what you're doing. You're playing championship manager. You got a
I
guy
know,
that
I
hasn't
don't
even
know
been
what
in the
that
league,
is. So
right?
no, I'm not playing anything. This is the guy that we interviewed.
You're playing
for
a
a
video
long-term
game
Move
project.
this
where
over
you
to a
think you can
private
take
chat.
little
Move this
teams
over to the private chat.
and take them
Oh
everywhere.
my
Yeah?
god.
This guy doesn't know. He's going to be a tourist. He's going to be a tourist in the Champions League, like, just see everything. He's going to be a tourist every team. Well, because he
So
coached the
in
youth
terms
team.
of that, in terms of that question that just come in there about injuries for Leicester, they had Harry Winks, James Justin, Jamie Vardy, and Hamza Chowdhury out. They were them. They had 4 injuries. They all missed about. That can't be right. Riskus. No, that's wrong. Ignore that. Why am I looking at here? Ignore that. That's suspensions. It's suspension and injuries. So I don't know. It says they missed, but it has to do with bookings though. How can I find their injury record for the year? That's what I'm trying to work out.
I just want to add this. When we had like, what is it, 5
Absences.
managers in 2 years, it would seem all of it seemed like a gamble. I think everyone's patience is kind of wearing thin. I think that's going to be reflected straight away if it doesn't go well. Sooner than we gave Potter and Poch. I don't get the constant gambles. I'm not like what I know. We got him on a short contract, means we can get rid of him quick, but it's another season gone. And do we
I
go?
know they should have just got that sure thing out there.
I mean, what does it take? Does Palmer have to leave? Like, that's what's going to happen.
There's that sure thing just sitting right out there. They should have went and got that. I can't believe they didn't do that. Damn.
If there was no sure thing, you might as well stick with Poch then.
6, 7, 8, 9
Jam,
injuries.
it's well documented. It's well documented. Like, people always ignore context, even with this Chelsea season. Like, how many injuries we had. Oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You have to win. You're here to win. Doesn't matter.
We never had a full fit team.
Your best players.
Yeah. No, it says they had 9 injuries. When you look at the names, names of people that they've missed, Vardy, Albrighton, Vestergaard, Pereira, Dennis Pratt, Ben Nelson, Thomas Cannon. That was through the periods of March, February, January, and Didi, who's not there as well. Ian Nacho, also Patson Daka. But they're away. No, Patson Daka was away on international duty. That's different.
You should ask. You should. And when you ask where those injuries were, like somebody like Pereira, if you ask Maresca how important Pereira was to his setup, he'll tell you exactly. He'll tell you he was probably the most important player, because you can't just put somebody in the midfield, right back in the midfield, and expect them to perform. They have to understand, how to manipulate the ball in tight spaces, how to move, how to like pick passes quickly, and that's not for everybody. So when you start getting to the depth positions there, you get your second and third, right back in that position, you're going to suffer. It's no different from what we were doing this year, like playing players in weird positions and, not seeing the true, the true genesis of what Pochettino was trying to achieve, just injuries, so.
Well, let's have a look at the comments that we got here from Harry Winks, who was playing under Enzo Maresca last year. Let's have a listen.
Stature, experience. I mean, he's got by far the best manager I've worked for. He's incredible. I think everybody will say, he's right to the top managerial with stature, experience. I mean, he's got everything. He's great man manager. He's tactically incredible. Some of the decisions that he tells us to do before the game and how we view the match is something I've never experienced before in football. So it's opened my eyes a lot to football and the way it's played, and that kind of Pep Guardiola style as well, which is, I know he worked with very, very for a long time. So I'm loving my football. It works perfectly for me. It's exactly the kind of football that I want to play and I buy into, and I think since he's come in, I've learned so much and continue to do that.
There you go.
Can you pull up Gabrielle? Can you pull up Gabrielle's comment, please?
Gabrielle.
I think
this one here. When someone's been burnt in a relationship, they take it out on their new love. This Enzo is going to get all the wrath of Potter Poch and clearly, unless he shows something quite quickly.
I agree with that 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
It's just the way this fan base is moving, man. Everyone wanted De Zerbi, and like anything but De Zerbi is just nobody's gonna give this guy a chance, unless he hits the ground running. It's gonna be like, oh my god, another championship manager. This guy doesn't have any idea, any clue whatsoever, and nobody knows anything about his football. Let's just be real. Nobody watched Leicester this year, other than Leicester.
People go, it's from a Spurs player, guys. This is the guy that played for Leicester. Why are you just making this like so weird? Like, just watch the thing and listen to it. It's not just to say like, I don't know, just people make things weird in this chat. It's just, guys, it's just an analysis for you to listen to, something for you to hear from other people's points of views. Yeah, let's stop.
John, these are the same eight people who showed up to a nonsensical protest. Okay, so we take some of these people. Some of these people have a special handicap. We just let them type away. All right.
Come on, guys. Come on. Like, I get we're not happy. Some of us are okay with it. Some of us are unsure of it. Some of us, but all we're trying to do is understand, because none of us really fully know how good this Enzo Maresca is. Really, let's just be serious. We're all moaning because he's the championship manager. Let's be serious. Like, come on.
Yeah, but I think the difference is for the last 20. I mean, I'll just say under Roman. Yeah, anytime we got a manager that was, AVB, Sarri, that wasn't on the top, right? Top that ref that Couch was talking about, yeah. And then the next manager came in, didn't have that patience, yeah. He was gonna cut that ref. That's what happens. When you have bad seasons, you're gonna cop to impatience. Unless you got the best, and everyone just says no, he's the best. Let's wait it out. Depending on your experience, is how much patience and how much people will defend you. Now, what this guy lacks, and everyone's going to go after him, right, is that he hasn't coached him in the Premier League. And you know what? If everyone's asking that question, the players will be asking that question, right? It can all fall apart so easy.
No, not really, because everyone was asking that question all year this year, and the players didn't stop fighting for Poch one time. So, no, the players don't ask that question.
I'm not talking about Poch, though. I'm talking about Maresca.
No, you're talking about in general. You're saying if
I'm talking about Maresca.
If a fan base is being on a guy's neck the whole time, and then the players are the fans were on Poch's neck all fucking season. What are you talking about?
But the player bit is just for Maresca.
Just for Maresca. Okay.
Poch that could be that. Yeah. They're going to be on the neck of anyone. Like, you're right, Josh. They're going to find, like I brought up the fact that he hasn't been in the EPL. Yeah. Fans will find anything, any weakness to show why it didn't work, right? Poch being they found he couldn't do nothing. Like, you guys found a lot of them, yeah. Everyone will find that, and if certain players, because we have an inexperienced team, but if it was more elite team, they'll question it. They'll question this guy's not good enough, and it all falls apart. They say lose the dressing room. That's happened so many times, and I feel like that could happen a lot quicker with this manager. Because getting an inexperienced manager for an inexperienced team, it can go so wrong. Silva's out of there.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I don't think so. But the problem is so should we have just gotten to Thomas Frank then? Like, if it's only about experience, then Thomas Frank should have been more in the running.
I feel like he's in the same boat too. Maybe Amarim would have been better. It's different league.
Amarim, he's never coached in the Premier League.
I know, but he comes from. Declared, you got to get some consistency, brother.
Nobody comes from another league where he's been winning titles. He played in Europe.
Maresca has literally just won an English title. He's also been on Pep's English winning title teams for the last few years. He's been in and around winning English football for probably the last 5 years. What are you talking about?
As much as I agree,
you had to say English title because you couldn't say championship, yeah.
Championship title, whatever. It's a title in English football. What are you talking about?
And he's just been around the place. He's unproven.
As much as I'm okay with this Maresca appointment, let's not pretend that this is not a desirable appointment. Like, nobody was like, yeah, let's get Maresca. You know what I mean? No. I don't think anyone was on that tip. So we're just basically looking for what we could look for in this manager. But this is not, I don't want Chelsea to be hiring managers that from the championship, or hiring managers that have never won anything really. Like, it's not what we're about. That's not our DNA. We've always gone for big name managers. And I'm looking at it like this. You guys are looking at it from the perspective of, yeah, well, we got to give this guy a chance, and he needs an opportunity to show what he can do. I agree with that. I'm turning the ire on the directors and the board. That's where my frustration is right now. It's not
Hey,
with
Bobby, the
who these
championship is in
managers
English
are.
football, you fucking moron. It is a title, you dumb fuck.
This is what happens this is what happens with
Stop posting shit, man. Stop posting shit, please. I'm just about like looking at the directors and the board right now because they're the ones that are making these decisions. It's not about the manager that's coming in, it's who's selecting these managers to come in. And nobody seems to be putting any of the onus on these directors and managers. Like, how does it come? How do we get to a position where Chelsea are hiring championship managers to manage big Chelsea football club? Why are we pining over like mid-table Premier League managers to come manage our team? Like these mid-table like nobodies that haven't won anything.
Bayern Munich did it.
It's
Bayern
killing
Munich
me.
Bayern Munich.
I don't give a fuck what Bayern Munich is.
Big old
How many
Bayern.
seasons we're going to do this?
But Couch, they have a history of winning. That's not their DNA. They always have big name managers there.
Yeah,
What's going on in Bayern?
Yeah.
I'll be honest
So
with you guys.
We're trying to be Bayern now?
I just want some consistency, guys. Consistency in our arguments. That's all.
It's the way that
I'm not talking about Bayern. I don't give a fuck about what Bayern do. I'm talking about what Chelsea do. And I don't see any equivalency to being what Bayern is doing to what we're doing. I don't see anything.
There's a big reason why there's a big reason why I did want Amorim, and that was purely because he'd won things. Like there was, there was the proof on his CV, and that was part of why I wanted him. But when it comes to young coaches of this day and age, I do think this is the way a lot of the big clubs specifically are going to be going down the route of. They want this next big thing, and I think this is what they're all looking for now. Look what Liverpool have done. They've took a bit of a jump on their appointment. Bayern Munich have gone for company. We've gone with Maresca. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, guys, but all I'm saying to you is I feel like they're all trying to find the right fit of a young coach to be their next Peps or their next Klopps or their next. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Jim. Amorim, he won his title yesterday. It would have been nice to have him come in after winning a title in Portugal. So. Yeah. Oh, wait, no, they lost. Oh, sorry. Actually,
I was just worried with Amorim and his systems and that. But when it comes to what he's done and winning, people go, yeah, but it's only Portugal. It's like horses for everyone picks and chooses when trophies matter in football. It makes me laugh.
This common hire, right, has only happened this season, right? That hasn't happened last season or the season before. We've had 2 seasons of gambling, right? And this is another gamble. And we've coached someone's taking a gamble, right? And after 2 seasons of gamble, which they wanted to, they wanted Potter to be that person, they wanted Poch to be that person, right? Even getting Lampard in between doesn't matter whoever we got, right? Whoever they want to, like the appointments they're making, these are gamble appointments. This guy could be the next Pep. I'm not going to rule him out. He could be the next Pep, right? He might not get the time for it, but he could be the next Pep. Or he could be a guy that just won the lotto, right? And he's getting a leg up. This is a pure gamble, right? And every club isn't run as a gamble, right? Maybe
this one
Bayern kill it.
This one is. These guys love gambling.
Yeah, they love it. Bayern Bayern have been doing everything right for so many years, right? And only recently, and they had to sack the directors and that, and the new directors they had to trust them and got in company, and company if company doesn't win the league, he's out as well. The standards are way higher. I think he might fail too. Doesn't mean we have to go do it. Sorry, Josh?
Nothing. I said just kind of a gamble, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying it's a gamble. I just think that after 2 seasons of this, I felt that all right, let's not have a big enough big gamble again, right? Let's get a short manager.
I don't understand what this means though. Sorry, Josh. I don't understand why we're looking at other teams for examples as what we want to do at Chelsea. Like I don't understand.
Because you're looking at other big clubs across the world doing the same thing.
I don't give a shit what they're doing.
You're completely ignoring. All right, well then
they're not the
same. Ignore it. But that's the direction.
So why didn't every club spend $1 billion?
They're going in this direction. This is the way.
Why didn't every club spend $1 billion as well? Join us.
I don't think that you can look at these other clubs and expect that we're in a completely different position than they are. Okay, like
how
we need somebody to come in that has. Look at our structure right now. We have no winners within the structure of our club. At least at Bayern, they have the board that have won a multitude of titles, and they know how to build a winning team. We don't have anyone in the club right now that knows how to fucking win. That's the problem I have right now. The structure is very amateur. The structure at Liverpool is solid. They've won. They have the structure in place. They can bring in a manager that comes in and just kind of like figures it out, and because the structure around them is solid enough to build something. We don't have that right now.
Yet to be seen. Yet to be seen, by the way.
Okay, yet to be seen.
Josh,
but
which clubs are we following? Shouldn't we follow it like City and who else is doing well? Real Madrid. Like the
project.
What are you talking about?
The clubs that are actually doing stuff, we should be following them, not across the board. I don't know which clubs you're talking about, right? Because Bayern just failed. That's why they turned to this, right? The clubs that are actually succeeding and doing well. I gave the example, Man City and Real Madrid. Isn't that the model that every club should try and follow?
Don't get it twisted. This is the internal Man City model, okay? They are in a position now, because that team is where it's at, to buy players here and there to fit the system that they have in place. But the model that they are running is this model. Okay, Real Madrid are in a much different situation because they're Real Madrid, but they just spent 60 million on a 16-year-old kid. Okay, so they're also sort of in this idea of model. They're looking for young talent. They're looking for young players across Europe. They are also sort of in this model. They are not in the exact model as us because they don't necessarily have to be from a revenue standpoint. They're the biggest club in the world, but these are clubs that are in this model. Are you saying
that Man City? This is the same model as Man City?
Their internal model, without question, yes. Not their first team.
Oh, just missing the elite manager and elite director.
So what are you calling? Hold on. What are you calling their internal manager? Their internal model. What is that? What does that define as?
Buying young top talent across Europe, developing them, either promoting them to the first team or selling them for big dollars, i.e., like a Cole Palmer. Yeah, that's what they're doing. Sure. Now, listen, as the second Pep leaves, their model is going to change completely. And guess what? They'll be in a position to do it seamlessly because their internal model is already set up that way. The days of the cities. Okay, go ahead. Nope. Pep's going to leave, and Tiki and all those guys will all stay, and it'll all be the same.
Exactly. No. The structure is still there. Pep is the coach, the manager. But the structure
you're talking about is the structure I'm referring to. The structure when Pep leaves.
I'm talking about having winners in the fucking building, guys that know how to build winning teams. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. We don't have that.
Hey,
you talking about from the manager?
The whole club is based on Pep's model. So
you talking from a manager standpoint?
No, I'm talking about their entire structure. Like Tixi, all those freaking guys that they stole from Barcelona. All those guys have known how to win. They know how to build winning teams. Then they brought in Pep. They were winning long before Pep even got there. Don't forget that. They were winning before that.
Yeah, of course.
Then they brought in Pep. So it's not a matter of like Pep came in and then everything started clicking for them. They were winning before.
Yeah. They're working towards it.
And they were their plans for Pep before he got there.
It wasn't like they come in and it all happened. I remember that period. There was a period where they had to work towards it. And then once they got this project and philosophy in place, they then started implementing Pep and, they had some good managers before Pep, by the way. That's some very good managers before Pep.
We're going to skip. We'll just jump the whole 20 plus years in between that. Nothing happened and there was no.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't have the structure in place then. They didn't have the structure in place then. That's what I'm talking about.
2-3 years.
They brought in the winners.
They brought in the winners,
and then they got it right. We don't have that structure right now. I like the directors. We got like Brighton's directors and like a Monaco director, and like we're expecting to win when these guys don't have no. When have they built a winning team? That's what I'm saying. Like we're trusting these guys to pick these guys, to pick a manager, to pick this team, and just based on data and stats and whatnot, which I have no problem with. Of course, that's the new model. A lot of teams are adopting that. But there is certain things that you still need to do to that is conducive to winning, and that is assembling a winning mentality. How do you win? You bring in people that have done it before to show you how. It's no different than when Roman came in however many years ago and brought in Peter Kenyon, who was at Manchester United, to build the structure that was conducive to winning. That's what's missing right now.
I hear that. I do agree with that partly.
That's
I'm not
right.
going to lie. I
And
agree
to
with
give
that.
you like a glimpse on how much that
I do
model,
agree with that.
the Man City model, extends, right? Because it's they're based on a Pep philosophy that the directors and Pep are on board. Everyone's on board there, backed him clearly. Even as a multi-club model, I support one of the City Group teams down here, right? And even they were playing, and the philosophy has come down here, and we're playing the Man City way. The managers that we hire, we're playing the same style of football, right? It's gone down to even to the other clubs, right? And to play the same way to the youth level at Man City, right? All the way, everyone's playing the Pep way. So if Pep leaves, it's not going to be easy transition, or they have to find another coach that plays the very same way, right? We don't do that. We're just cycling managers. We didn't buy players for a certain manager or a certain philosophy. Now they're trying to say I heard somewhere that we want to play possession football. I mean, if you wanted to play that, you want to play that from the start. You don't get Potter to play possession football.
Yeah, I do think that I do think that where we mucked up earlier on slightly, and this obviously may not be the case in the next couple of years, but where I feel, and I agree with Couch, I think we do need to have someone with that sporting background. When we were looking at sporting directors and we were linked to Michael Edwards, not getting him, and when he was available, and trying to get just an official director in for the base, someone that's been in there, knows how to win, has been there before, done it. Like that for me was a big question mark to how far do we go till we start seeing success with this board. And when they brought Win Stanley and Lawrence Stewart in, I didn't really have much clue about them. I don't think most of us did. We just know that they've done quite well at Brighton through appointments, through transfers, bringing people across. But there wasn't really any proven record behind it. And that's the thing that I feel may shoot us in the foot a bit later on down the line, may not. But, I've always wanted us to have someone that had that sporting background to help these directors, i.e. a sporting director like Michael Edwards. That was something I thought we should have maybe gone with a bit earlier. Why is everyone saying Fraser? What's going on with Fraser?
He's been chirping about like trying to, oh well, we're going for Amarin for forever, or so maybe he's trying to backpedal now. We'll see.
I think he's just put a tick. We're signing the contracts. Like, I'll show you, it really doesn't mean much, to be quite honest with you guys. But, it's looking like it's going to happen, Tick, contract sign, Italian guy. The new Pep is coming.
Guys, with everything I'm saying right now, I'm disappointed in what we're building as this Chelsea team here. I'm still optimistic. I still think that this guy has enough tactical nous that he can actually get us playing the right side of football, the right style of football. Yeah. I don't know. None of us will ever say that we know exactly what we're going to get with this guy. There's no way.
Of course.
So I'm like with every manager, manager not named Rafa Benitez, I've backed them. I don't give a shit where they came from, whatever. I've given them the backing and the time and space to work their ideas. So I'm going to do the same thing with this Maresca guy, because like I said before, I still think that he has of the names that were listed, the names that we're linked to, he still, to me, has the best structure. He seems to me that he's thinking about the game in 3 phases, whereas the other ones, I don't know if that's necessarily true. So yeah, I'll give him my chance.
The one thing I will say about the board, they can't keep chopping and changing. We are in a 3rd season. They do need to find the right person. They feel that the players we have are a little bit more experienced than they were, albeit by 1 season or maybe 2 for others here and there, right? Whoever's coming in now is going to has a lot of pressure. And I said it doesn't matter if it was Amarim to this guy. Whoever came in will have the same targets, which will be top 4 and winning a trophy. Like that will always be the case. I think that will be the case with the owners. And I think this is why they've gone down the route of the contracts that they have offered for these managers, because they want them to show us. They're like, okay, we're picking you. Come and show us what you can do. We're not going to give you a full long-term contract. We're going to give you this. This is what we think. A bit like how we did under Poch. Show us what you can do. If you want time, go and earn your time. Get your fans on the side. Play your football. Get the players playing. Show us. And I get it to a degree. It's just a lot of pressure on the unknown because we don't know what to expect from someone that's just come from the Championship, albeit winning the championship over there. So we're just going to have to wait. We're going to have to get behind him. We've done it with Poch, even I didn't want him. And albeit Don the other day when I was on his show agreed, everything Jem said about Poch was right. He got it spot on. Even though I didn't want to be right. You know, it was bad. But like with this guy, I don't have a formulated opinion like I did with Poch because I'd seen it. I'd gone from there. I can look at what he's done at Leicester, this, that, and the other, you know, or how he was in the Premier League too with Palmer and Lavia, which I think is a good thing, by the way, having them relationships with Palmer, Lavia, and Shields. You know, obviously Palmer a very important player to us. Lavia's still not even kicked ball for us yet. So there will be like the players that do know him will put in a good word for him and probably say, you know, we've got to get behind him. He does this, that, you know, people that to the ones that don't know about him. I'm talking about the players, but then it's all about him, how he sets us up, how he solves the problems that we had last year, and how we look structurally. Have an identity, structure, and just stick to it. And this is what we're going to probably going to see under Enzo Maresca. And I think we just got to give it time, guys. We can sit here moaning about the appointment and not being happy about it. And oh my God, it's not De Zerbi or whoever it is that you wanted. But this is who they believe is going to be it. But I do agree, the board haven't got time to keep fuffing this up. They just can't. We can't be sitting in four seasons, 5 seasons. Oh, he was wrong because of this. He was wrong because of that. Year later, see you later, see you later, see you later. Then they're going to have to change whatever it is that's going on in their head at some point and go, hang on, maybe we need to scrap this young coach thing and start looking at someone with a better CV that's got the know-how of winning and can come in and maybe have a couple of saves here and there in areas.
At some point, the ire is going to have to be turned upwards and not on the playing staff and the coaches that they bring in. I'm sorry, you brought in Potter, you brought in Lampard, you brought in Poch, you're bringing in Masquerade. I agree, 100%. I agree. You're bringing in Masquerade. Like, you can't tell me that all of these professional managers are wrong. You know what I mean? Every one of them, and like nobody's catching the ire. Nobody's looking at the directors who are picking these guys first of all, and nobody's looking at the board as a whole. Like at some point, you have to look that way. And I'm at the point right now. I agree with you, Declared. I'm at the point right now where I'm sick and tired of looking at the manager and saying, "Well, this is the problem. We need to get this guy. We need to get this guy. We need to get this guy." The one constant has been what throughout all of this. It's the same thing with the injuries. Like I remember, it's Poch's fault that we're always injured. We've been injured for the last 3 seasons. The last 3 seasons we've been injured. What is the constant? The freaking medical department. Get rid of that medical department. How many times have you seen guys come back? They come back.
You know the big difference is, Coach. They got rid of half the medical this time around.
Hold on. They come back and they're healthy, and then they go right back out and they're injured again. That's happened for the last 2 years, easily. It's not Pot. It's the medical department clearing these guys, saying that they're ready to play long before, they're ready. But maybe it's out of necessity, but still.
It's also the board. They got rid of half. We lost half from Roman to half of it, and they brought in.
I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah, that's half. So they to save money or something because they talked about having I think you need every championship side or Champions League side wants a availability rate of 86%, but they aim for 90%. That's through the Roman era, and we had 14 staff. 2 club doctors. They used to talk about 150 years of experience. I can pull that up, so I remember having it. But yeah, there's something. They got rid of half of it. That explains. So we used to have double the medical staff, and you could see the availability we had for 20 years. And now we had a domino effect where they can't even handle it. And we had a club doctor that got promoted. Maybe he can't have it. Maybe we need someone new. That's a decision higher up. I mean, every decision hasn't worked out now. And the thing about the thing with Maresca is this guy might be coming at a bad time. Like I said, he might be the next Pep or up there, right? And I'm getting that like almost that feeling of Sarri fast forward, right? When Sarri came here and he had this style of play that was great, but it took time for him to implement.
Same.
And I feel like this guy's going to need time to implement, but who's
well,
going to turn
one thing that The one thing he may have on his side is the lack of injuries, fingers crossed. And Nkunku fully fit, Lavia very fully fit. Maybe we have more options in his tools, things that we haven't even seen or for full season last season. So these are things that could help improve what he wants to do. And I think there is a very good bunch of players here. I do. I think there's some very talented players in our squad that that are waiting to maybe kick on and maybe
you spent $5 on
so
that, Niak? Wow,
Niak
$5 on
said,
that, obviously.
big up to Niak with a donation as always. Come on, bro. He says, no, coach. I work in medicine, and when you rehab patients, you go slow. The Athletic already shed light on Poch's training tactics and staff rushing, not physios. Interesting.
Okay, so what happened?
And
What happened the year before that? What happened the year before that?
Let me throw this one in. If Poch's training was so, so harsh and whatnot, why didn't the players turn on him?
They wouldn't turn on him over that.
Well, they're giving you a big up, coach. Why didn't they turn on him? Because that's usually what happens when they don't like their training, right? And it's harder, and they get fed up with the coach. Why didn't they turn on him?
I'll tell you this. Here's the thing about training that I find is the difficulty. Okay, we already had a banged up squad. Like, guys are still recovering from injuries from the previous season and whatnot. And in order to compete in the Premier League, even if you're playing one game a week, you have to train. You have to train like rigorously to get up to the Premier League level. And when you have a bunch of injuries and whatnot, it makes it harder to train that way. So you have to manage not only guys coming back into the squad, guys getting back to full fitness, but you're also trying to make sure that the team is competitive enough to prepare for the Premier League games. So you're balancing two different things. You're balancing two different things at the same time now. We have to be able to play this week, and we have to make sure that these players recover, right? So I agree that maybe Poch was maybe pushing these guys at a level where, they weren't necessarily ready to compete in the Premier League at the time that they were when they're coming back and whatnot. But at the same time, it's a double-edged sword. Like, it's either you prepare them for the week, or we play a soft game, and then everyone's complaining that we're so easy to play through. So
yeah,
I look at it on both levels. Obviously, I think that this is a bigger problem than just Poch. I think the whole medical department needs a serious look.
Some of the medical department's actually left already. They've also changed the set piece coach, who we already know has been bought from Brentford. So there has been that, and then there's also been talks in the articles about the medical team and the board criticizing, questioning why so many injuries, why they're not recovering so quick, this, that, and the other. And these are all things that are playing part in what we have going forward and how we're going to look moving forward. So listen, guys, I can't stay on much longer because I've got a dip. I've actually got stuff to do, but we've been on for an hour and 46 minutes. We've still got 780 people here, man. Big up to every single 700 of you guys that are tuned in right now. It's been an amazing show. We nearly hit 1K today. We nearly hit 1K today in views. That's pretty impressive. I'm not going to lie, for a Monday bank holiday, guys. But listen, any news breaking later on, if we get any here we goes or whatever, we will come back and analyze Enzo Maresca as a panel and talk about the potential appointment of it. Could there be a little twist later on? Doesn't look like it, but you never know. Big up to Niak as well, who's still going on about the injuries with Couch.
Let me see. So if you see people injured in games, Potter, does this equate to injuries happening of players in training, and why are they having several setbacks?
There was heaps of players.
What are you talking about?
Behind closed doors. There was so many mystery injuries. Players were just going, they're out.
Man. Like,
majority of the players that were injured were behind closed doors.
You must have blacked out last season, man. You must have blacked out last season. The amount of times that people got injured, then came back and got injured right again. Like, are you kidding me?
That happened to Nkunku. Kukurea was out for a long term, came back okay. There was a couple of players that come in and out that were.
No, but he's talking about last season though, under Potter though.
Under Potter.
Yeah,
we had Ruben Loftus-Cheek playing right back most of the game.
Reece James came back, got injured right away. Fofana came back, got injured right away. Who was the other one? It just went on forever, man. There's so many guys.
Guys, before you leave, hit the like button. Leave a comment below. Are you happy with the potential appointment of Enzo Maresca? We'll have to wait and see for the announcement. And we'll be back again very soon, guys. Like I said, any news breaks, we'll be back. Smash a like, subscribe if you're new. Thanks to Couch and Declared and Josh for today as well being here, guys. Been a good show. Up the Chelsea. And let's see what happens, guys. Peace.